Welcome to Rippin Nuts Podcast. Papa Smurf Ed Buonocore.
And Tommy over here.
Yes. Today we have a special guest. We have Tara Melissa.
Hi, Squirrel.
Squirrel, that's right.
That's
Squirrel.
right. I need a nickname too. I have one.
That's right. Now Tara, we met on Facebook before we met in person. Is that correct?
That's right. And then I saw you doing check-in at Tough Mudder.
Tough Mudder English Town.
And I came over and I introduced myself to you.
That's right. So I know Tara from racing. Now Tara, you used to write for a I don't know what we call it.
Yeah, Mud Run Guide, sure.
Mud Run Guide, right? So Tara would do reviews of all the races. You did that for a while, correct?
I did it for 2 years, and then I just needed to focus more on the house. You know, my kids were going to college, and I couldn't do it anymore. I had to focus more here. I had to slow down with the running too, because I was away literally every weekend. There was like 8 Saturdays in a row where I raced every Saturday, and my husband was so patient that I felt bad. You know, I had to slow down a bit. It was literally every Saturday. So I couldn't stay up late on Friday nights with him to watch a movie because I'd have to get up super early. And he was so great about it. I had to slow down a bit. But I did. I wrote and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, actually. The people I met and places I got to go, and yeah. It's
it's funny how with the racing, you don't realize how time consuming it is. And you were doing even extra because you had to do, you had to sit down and then you had to write. Right. So, but it really is. It's up early on weekends, mostly, right?
Yeah.
Races. Some start on Fridays. You'll get some if you're doing like an overnight or something, and then it's a couple days, and then it's to bed early, and So
I even went to Bermuda a full weekend. I raced Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I went to Bermuda. I left, and that was. I mean, it got to be crazy. It got to consume my life some way, in a good way. I met a lot of people and I really enjoyed it. My son got into it with me, so it was something that he did with me too, which was, it was nice.
Right.
But it consumes you after a while.
Yeah, it does. I know. You can spend a lot of time, putting the effort into getting to races, let alone the time training. So, and another thing I know that you had also, you were on TV.
I was on, I think it was like Sports Network or something. Well, yeah, I was on TV for the racing, Sports Network, which who would have ever thought that someone like me would have been on Sports Network, but I was for a race that they actually did near where I went to high school. So that was why, that was why I was on that, because I went to high school right there. It was on Fort Hamilton Army Base, and I went to Fort Hamilton High School. And I was like a chubby kid back when I went to school, and here I am now back, in my late 30s running this race. So they kind of followed me, and then they interviewed me afterwards. Yes.
Oh, that's
and I was
cool.
I was on 2 talk shows for my weight loss. So
right.
I love the spotlight, which is why as soon as I heard that you did this, I said I have to get on there. So what can I do? And I thought, okay, we'll do the weight loss. But then I said, you know what? That's been done to death.
Yeah.
I mean that I could talk about that in my sleep.
Right.
I said there's got to be something else interesting about me that nobody knows. What can I talk about? Because everyone knows about the weight loss and the running and the working out. So then I thought, there is something that people don't know. And that's what I came to you with. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because you wrote me privately and you said this, and I was so excited because I was like, what? Yes, let's do this. Let's talk about this. So explain this.
So it started a few years ago. I want to say maybe for me it started about 6 years ago. I would go to sleep and my husband would always stay up later than me, and I'd be upstairs by myself, and we have a big bedroom with, a bathroom and a walk-in closet, and the doors would be open, and I'd open my eyes, and sort of by the shower, I'd see this figure standing, a dark figure, and it sort of, you didn't see his face, and it sort of looked like it was wearing a cape, and it had like this very specific hat on. Now, I never felt scared And I'm a scared person, but I never felt afraid of this. You know, it would just stand there and sort of watch me, and it never came too close, and I never thought anything of it. And finally, about, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, I brought it up to my husband, and I said, look, I never said anything to you, but there's this thing that stands there and looks at me. You know, I described it the same way. It looks like it's wearing a cape. It's got this hat. I described the hat, and he goes, that's Shadow Man. You're just telling me about Shadow Man. I'm like, what Shadow Man? And he said, you have to be kidding me, because you just described exactly down to the hat. It wears like a hat. He described it like Captain Morgan, like the guy on the Captain Morgan bottle wears,
Right.
you know, like
Right.
that shape. And he said, no, that's, you just, what are you talking about? I said, I swear on anything you want, I never heard of this. And he said, that's a thing. He said, people see it. Like, that's a real thing you're seeing. He said, if you're not kidding me, that's really creepy. And I said, I'm not kidding. Like, I see it. And I said, and I never feel afraid of it. But the more research we did, because then we started reading about it. Some people say that it's from another, planet or something. It comes to watch us. Mm-hmm. Other people do say that they're afraid and they feel that it's sort of a bad entity. And we joke that I'm so quirky and so weird. Maybe it is here just observing me, like, because I am so out there. Like, maybe something has sent someone to watch me. Like, what? How does she survive? How does she not trip over her feet every day? So now, you know, he would tease me, and he'd say, well, I want to see it, and I would want to see it. And I'd say, no, we have to keep the door shut because I don't want to see it. Like, to me, it's real, even though I never felt that it wanted to hurt me. I don't want to see it. So he asks me, you know, he'll say, do you believe in ghosts or in spirits? And I'm weird. Even though I see this and I 100% see it, I don't drink. I don't do any recreational drugs. I never have in my life. Like, I mean, this is I have to say that because some people might say, well, what is she taking before she's going to sleep? Right. I say, I won't say yes because I don't want them to then come to me and say, okay, she's someone safe that we can go to. And I don't want to say no because then I don't want them to say, well, she doesn't believe, we need to keep going to her. So I won't say, even though I see it, whether or not I believe in it, but it's weird. And there's some other things I've seen right in front of my face. It's like a redheaded man, but just looking at me. Once again, I'll open my eyes and my husband says, you're asleep. And I'm like, I'm not asleep because, like, I can pinch myself. I'm awake. And there's a face, like, right here in front, like, almost just observing me. And he's just watching me. It's like these things just come. I probably sound so crazy now, but it's true. They sit there and they watch me, but I never feel like anything wants to harm me. Although one night he was downstairs and I woke up and there was something standing at the foot of the bed and I screamed his name out, like in the middle of the night, you know, he doesn't want me to say his name, but I screamed his name out and he came running upstairs like, what is it? And I said, you know, the thing moved closer now. Now it was like at the foot of the bed. It wasn't in the bathroom anymore. And it's weird. We did go, there's a haunted hotel up in Napanock, New York called the Shanley Hotel. You can look it up. It used to be a brothel. It used to be, you know, during Prohibition, gangsters, people were killed there. We went and we stayed at the Shanley Hotel twice. I wanted to see, am I seeing anything? I didn't really get anything there, but he will allow me to tell this story now. He is not really a believer, only because I'm seeing these things and he's not. But without saying his name, I'm allowed to say that when we came back from the hotel, he woke up in the middle of the night, and down the hallway from our bedroom is our kids' room. And he was walking to the bathroom and he looked down and he could see outside our daughter's bedroom a woman sort of floating, and looked at him and gave like a finger, like, come here. He ran in. Now, I didn't know what happened, but he ran into bed, pulled the covers over his head, and I go, what happened? He goes, an apparition. I saw an apparition. Like, didn't even use the word ghost. He saw an apparition, and he swears to this day that he saw something outside our daughter's room. So we all teased him. My daughter's like, nice. And I was sleeping in there, and rather than coming in to make sure I was okay, you run back into bed and throw the covers over your head. But we tease him all the time. The way he jumped into bed, he's like, no, I really saw something. And this is a new house. I mean, it's 13 years old now, but we're the only owners. We're the only people who've lived here. So I don't know what's going on here, but there's something that we're seeing that, I don't know. It's weird. I know it sounds crazy, but when he told me that this is, there's movies about it now. They've made
Mm-hmm.
documentaries. I won't watch them. He tried once to slip on a Shadow Man documentary, and I said, to me, this is real. I can't watch this.
Right,
I said,
right.
you don't understand. Like, I've really experienced it. He's like, really? You can't watch it? I said, no, I can't. Because to me, it's real. This thing, it just watches me. I don't know.
Yeah. When you told me about that, I had heard of this. Like
See,
the
and I
Shadow
didn't
Man.
until, yeah.
But I said, let me look some things up, and just like you said, I saw people saying mostly these encounters have been passive, but some people do feel threatened, but most
Yeah.
people don't. That from what I understand, and I'm certainly not an expert on this. And then I also read, like you said, some people believe that the Shadow Man it could be a time traveler.
Yes.
And so I thought that was kind of interesting, like I can remember looking on the I guess it was probably a YouTube video that someone had posted with all these photos, and it would show the photos how it looked like somebody had traveled in time to that photo. Like there was a photo that was taken in the 30s or whatever, 30s or 40s, and it looked like the woman was holding a cell phone up to her ear.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. And so it's fascinating, to think that, is it possible, to travel? So like, like when Tommy and I were talking about this, he was like, are you a believer? And I don't call them ghosts. I
Right.
always said that somebody, I either read this or I heard this, that somebody said that the body's rented and the spirit moves on.
Yes.
And I thought that was kind of neat, like
Dad's coming in from the garage. They hear the garage door.
so it's not, it's kind of neat to think that the spirit kind of moves on, and
Yeah.
That's what some people kind of associate this with, some sort of spirit or an entity, as they want to call it. So you've seen this more than once, then?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There would be a time. It's weird because there would be a time when I would see it every night, and then we read that you could actually ask it to leave. So I literally did that. I went in my bathroom, and out loud I said, "Can you please stop coming? It's making me uncomfortable. I don't like it." And then I didn't see it for a while. And then my jerk of a husband a few weeks later goes, "Oh, we're, Shadow Man, come back to my wife." And don't you know, like 2 nights later, it reappeared. And I said, "You know what? I had it leave." I said, "Now you let it know that it was okay to come back." I said, "To you, it's a joke." But he'll say to me, like, "Well, if it's there, how come I don't see it?" Because there was another night when I woke up and I saw something in the corner, a few weeks ago, actually, in the corner of the room. And I actually said to him, "There's something there." And he said, "I was awake and I didn't see it." And I said, "I'm telling you, like, I know I'm awake because, my son will say to me, 'Oh, it's sleep paralysis.' I've experienced
Right.
sleep paralysis." That's another thing that I had experienced, and a few times over the years, and I thought it was just me. And then I heard someone talking about it, and I said, "Oh, that's a thing, where you can't move, you can't get up, you're like, you can't talk, and you just, you're awake." So I said, "No, I know what that is. I've definitely experienced that. This is not sleep paralysis. I'm awake." Because I mentioned something else to you where I'll wake up and I know I'm awake, but I don't recognize my room. Like, it's still dark, but I'm facing the windows where the windows should be, but I don't see the windows. Like, the windows aren't there. So for a few seconds, I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
I know where the doors are, and I'm looking around, and it's this dark room, but there's no light coming in from where the windows should be because there's a break in the curtain. There's always light coming in. I don't see the nightlight shining from my bedroom. It's like, where am I? I'm just like not in my room.
Wow.
So I don't know. Something's observing me. Something's taking me. But I never really feel afraid. Even when I wake up and that face is right in front of my face, like, I'll just go like that only because it's so close to me. But I never feel like it's anything that's trying to harm me.
Right.
But, so then you wonder, like, why is it coming to me? It's possible I'm just open to that. When my grandma passed away a few years ago, I was sitting on my couch exactly a week after we buried her, and there was a bird that came. I had video of it and everything I showed to people, and it was like knocking on my window. And it was like 6:30 in the morning, and all day it's there. It's going from window to window, and it was the weirdest thing. And 6:30 in the morning, I'm sitting in the same spot in front of the computer. The bird. I'm like, is it that bird again? It happened for like 4 days, and finally I mentioned it to someone, and they said, that's people who have died come to let you know that they're still there. And I said, once again, I had never heard of that. But my husband said that bird never came before. It never came after. So what I did once again, I spoke out loud and I said, Grandma, it's okay. I know you're with me, but you have to go. And I never saw that bird again. A bird never came back. But it literally, I would sit down at my computer in the breakfast nook, 6:30 in the morning, and that bird would be there. And I was like, what is this bird? I had video of it. Yep. And some people maybe, I don't know. But I didn't have it as a kid. This started, like I said, maybe like 7 years ago as an adult. I don't recall anything like this happening as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't suffer any trauma as a kid, like they say. It was none of that. I just may have started to become open to it recently.
You're
I don't know. Maybe it was
interesting person.
That's what it is. They're just, like I said, come and try to figure out how does this girl even get through her day and make it to the nighttime, because I'm so scattered. I don't know.
When you talked about the bird, that's interesting. So a couple years back, well, let's go back a little further. So Jerome Gonzalez, and Romy, and so the whole time, Rome was a big Go Ruck guy, right? And never got to do a Go Ruck with him. And I signed up for one, didn't tell anybody.
Right.
And it was in Scranton. It was in Scranton, PA. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sign up, not going to say anything to anybody, and I'll go and do this ruck, because I told Rome, I had said to him one time, we'll do a ruck together. We'll do a Go Ruck together. Never got to do that. A couple days before the ruck, I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. There was a cardinal tapping on my window all day. Day. And for a couple days, this went on. And of course, some people will say a cardinal is a definite sign that somebody's reaching out to you from who has passed over. And for a couple days, it was tapping on the window. I went and did my ruck, and I never saw the bird again. So I've had that happen to me. So I know that's kind of a cool thing, like when it happens.
It was. Yeah. Once somebody told me what it was, but then I felt bad. Like, now my grandma's going to spend the rest of her time, knocking on my window. Like, I had to let her know it's okay. You can go, and then I never saw the bird again. Like you said,
right.
Once you don't need them anymore, you needed it the days leading up to the thing to help,
Right.
And I had her for a few days, and then I said, I'm going to be okay. And then it left.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of cool. When you told that story, I was like, wow, yeah, I've had that happen to me, so I know what you were talking about.
So there might be things out there. So who's to say that my shadow thing is? I mean, but because my husband actually at one point he even said to me, he was worried. He said, maybe we should send you for an MRI. Maybe you have some sort of a mass on your brain or something that you're seeing all these things, But I have headaches really bad, and I've had so many MRIs and so many CAT scans, and there's nothing there. Like, there's just nothing to explain. And seriously, when I keep saying it, but when he told me that this is a thing and showed it to me on the internet, I said, I have never heard of that. Like, I just got the chills, like, wow.
Yeah,
down to the hat. He's like, no, like, that's the hat that they described. This thing wears. And I was like, that is so weird.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, this one doesn't have a face. It's just a black figure.
Right. And when I read that, that's what most people. Some people will report they see like red eyes.
Yeah, no, I didn't see.
But most people say it's just like you're seeing the silhouette of somebody. And I went. The one site I went to was kind of interesting, and it wasn't. It was just giving you all this information on sleeping, and not really. I guess it was the science behind sleep. And one of the things I thought was kind of interesting was it was saying, and I don't know the exact terms, but they're saying a lot of people catch these figures out of the corner of their eyes. And they were saying that the peripheral vision is actually connected to a part of the brain that tries to figure out shapes. And so when we look straight ahead, we're obviously taking in more information from the center than we would from the sides, of course. But they were saying, I guess it's some sort of connected to the part of the brain where if I see something out of the corner of my eye, it automatically tries to create something out of it. And so, that's what it was saying. Well, it could be this. Although what was really cool was I saw on that same page, it showed a photograph. Somebody had a photograph. And in the photo, the guy is standing there, and behind him is this black mass. Like it was just there in the room, and it was a well-lit room. And it was really weird, like, to see it. Like, maybe something happened to the photo. Like, we could talk about and say, well, maybe it could be this, it could be that. Like I always look at things like I said, maybe this part of me, this body is just rented, and there's something else. And like we just had, ironically, I'll tell you a story, and then I'll go back to this other thing. So we talk about, like, I don't want to say ghost, but spirit, So this happened, I'm going to go back to 1988, 1989. Okay, I was graduating college around that time. And so I'm old. And so some of you were probably just born.
I was 12.
so my dad, so I didn't really know my dad very well. And I had seen him a few times. And I had just gone to visit him because my mom and him, they still owned a house together. My mom didn't live in it anymore. We had moved. And we wanted him to sign the house over to my mom. So I went to visit him. We talked, and we talked, and I said, I'll come back. You can sign papers, and that was that. I went back to school, and on a Sunday, I got a phone call that he had passed away. So my sister and I go to the funeral. Come back. I have to go back to school, of course. I head back to school. A couple nights after that, I have a dream. And I have a dream about my dad. Now, of course, he just passed away. And I'm in my college room. So my college room was very small. You walk in the door, there was a closet to the left, the bathroom door to the right. There was on the left, there was next to the closet was a sink and a counter. And a desk next to that. There was a window and a bed. That was it. Pretty simple. I was a resident assistant, so I had a single. So in my dream, I'm sitting on my bed looking towards the closet and the door, and my dad was standing in the corner, but the room was full of people. It was like I was having a party. So but no one sees him. So I walk up to him, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, I just wanted to come and tell you I'm sorry, but I have to go. And I said, well, okay. And I remember saying to him, I forgave you a long time ago, but, I don't forgive you for what you did to Mom. And he said, okay, fair enough. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry and I have to go. He gave me a hug and the dream ended. And I didn't think much of it. I come home a few weeks later. And I see my sister, and I tell her the dream I just told you. I said, hey, I had this dream about Dad. And when I'm done with the story, she says to me, I had the same dream. I had the exact same dream. It was a little bit different because she was, at that time, she was pregnant with her first child. And in her dream, she says to him, when he says, I came to apologize and I have to go. She said, you can't go because you haven't seen the baby. And he said, yes, I have. It's okay.
Oh, wow.
And so a little different, but very similar dreams at the same time. So it was, is it just a dream? Maybe. Is it more than that? I took comfort in the fact that, hey, maybe he came to visit one last time to say, things didn't work out so well here, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Right. And so you take a little bit of comfort in that, it wasn't spooky to me or any way, shape, or form. But I thought it was kind of a cool thing that my sister and I had pretty much identical dreams about, our dad. So it was kind of interesting,
Yeah, I do think that they don't leave until everything, that they make sure everyone that they left behind is okay. That's the bird, that's, the dream, that was how he came to you. And
Right.
I absolutely think that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't like to think that you just die and then that's it. There's got to be more. There's got to be something.
Well,
That's what I think.
you look at like, I mean, in history, lots of different religions and lots of different races all had this sort of afterlife. I'm watching the Vikings now on History Channel. I don't know
My
if you've
husband
seen that
watched
show.
it. Yeah.
It's a great show. But they have this thing where life doesn't end here. There's a great thing after, and
Yeah.
that's a common theme with religions and races all through history. So there's something to that. I mean, I like to think that people in the past were a lot more rooted than we are today. When you talk about being part of the planet, part of the earth, we definitely have it a lot better. Like there was I'm sure a point in time where if you were living here in the United States and you walked out your door, you could get eaten by a bear, and it probably happened quite a bit, right? Where today we're pretty comfortable, like. Although maybe in some places you could walk out your door and a bear.
We
will
had a
grab
bear
you.
4th of July on our front lawn. But my husband and I, we do a lot of walking, we do a lot of hiking. That we'll, every weekend in the summer, and we talk about that a lot. And I'll share what we've talked about. He believes that you keep coming back because you have to learn something from your last life, or you have to get better in something, and until you've gotten to the point, I don't even know if I'm explaining it right, but until you've gotten everything settled, you can't like move on. He thinks that people that you might have even known them in in the past life. They could have been your sister, they could have been your, you could have known them, but sometimes he says you'll go through life and you're like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? And it's something that you have to learn how to deal with or overcome or do better than you did in the last life. Sure. And then, you'll come back and you have things that you need to try to fix or better or learn from. And we talk about, we hike for miles and miles, you have to come up with something to talk about. So we'll talk about that a lot. And that gives me some comfort. That's nice to think,
Yeah.
But then now you're thinking, what am I going to have to fix in the next life? What I mess up now? What do I have to look forward to
Should
next
I keep
time?
notes? Should I? Yeah, I mean, I've heard people like say, oh, Tommy has an old soul. And you hear people say that, and why? I've heard that said about a lot of people. They have such an old soul, and it's interesting because I've always thought that too. Like I always thought, I wonder if the spirit moves on and is recycled. That's like a bad way to say it, but like they keep just coming back, and that's why some people will always say, man, like it's like, man, I feel like I've been here before, the deja vu thing,
Yes.
Or I've seen you before somewhere. I don't know where, but I know I've run into you somewhere, and like you said, could it be a past life? Could it be 100 years ago?
Right.
It's possible. It's absolutely possible.
I've experienced that where I'm doing things and I'm like, I did this already. Why am I doing it? And then you're like, no, I couldn't have done it already because it's something so mundane. It's like, why would I have done the same exact thing? But it happened to me the other day. I forget what I was doing, but I was like, I did this exact same thing already. But I know I hadn't because it was such weird things that why would I have done this before? But you just feel like, yeah, I've done this before. I've been here before, but you know that you haven't.
Right.
Or maybe you have.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever had, and this happens to me quite a bit, I'll be doing something or going somewhere, and then I'll remember a dream that I had. And I'm like, man, in this dream, I know I was doing this exact thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I don't know. And I'm racking my head. I'm like, oh, did something bad happen? Like, should I not be here? Should I get out of here? But like, sometimes you're just in a spot and you're like, man, I've done this already. I know I've done this already.
Yeah.
And then it'll come back to me like a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this dream I had. And it's kind of weird, like to think that you've either done it already or been there before.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I say that all the time. Like I've done this, but I haven't because I'll be reading because also the other day I read in the bathtub and I was in the bath and I was reading a book and and I said I read this book already in the bath and I'm like, well, no, I didn't. It's a new book, but I felt exactly like I knew what was going to happen. I've done this before, but it was a brand new book. But like I knew it was the weirdest thing. I said, no, but you didn't read this book before. Like
Yeah.
It's strange. As long as the man in the hat's not watching me and I can keep the door shut. I go downstairs to get a snack and I know I left that closet door and bathroom door shut and I come up and he opened them thinking he's being cute and I'm like, you gotta keep those doors shut. He's like, I don't know. I didn't open them. Yes, you did. Stop. So he says to me the other night, he says, well, let me ask you something. He said he can come here from another world or whatever, but he can't get through the door. Like the door.
Yeah,
the
true.
Door shut though.
Well, isn't it what is it in old vampire movies with Dracula or vampires? In order for them to come in your house, you have to invite them in.
You have to invite them.
Yeah, and so I know that, like you said, like and I've read that too, that you can request and ask them to leave.
Yeah, you read it, and I did, and it worked until he invited him back, and I said, look, but he's sitting here now going like this, because this is exactly what he did. He's listening. He just walked in. That is exactly what he did, and I said, that's not funny.
Yeah, see, he missed him. He wants to see him, so that's why I invited him back.
He does.
Yeah.
He says to me, I want to see it, and I'm like, no, you don't, because even though I don't like the making fun of it because, like I said, to me, it's real. Like when he tries to put the documentaries on, I've experienced it. I feel uncomfortable. Like I don't want it, even though it's not scary to me. I don't want something standing there in the corner of the bathroom watching me.
Sure. Yeah, no.
Stop.
The concept of it's a little creepy, but like you said, when I was doing the reading. A lot of people said, I see them, but I there's no fear. Like
no.
I'm not afraid. I see them, and that's kind of neat in a lot of ways. It's because I think when you think about we'll go to with Hollywood ghosts and everything. It's always kind of a evil spirit, or it's you know what I mean. It's always pushed that way, and from my reading, most people said, no, it's not that kind of being. I see it, and there's no fear. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
But I know they're there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, like I said, somebody watching over you. Yeah, not the worst thing in the world, right?
No. We have the two dogs, and for a while we have a chair in the corner of our living room, and for a while there, every night at about 8 o'clock, the dog would just stand and stare at the chair and bark at it. That my husband would go over to the chair and be like, what, Harry, is there something here? It was the same time every night. The dog would just stare at this corner at the chair and sometimes bark at it, and we'd both just stand there and look at it like, what is he looking at? What's over there?
My sisters and I just had we decided to get together and have a I don't know what they call them, a medium, I guess, kind of.
You did
talk to us, about people who have passed over, and one of the things we got to talking in the end when our time was running out. My sister asked about that. She said, "Oh, I have a cat, and every so often my cat will just stare at something, and all the time the same place." And she said, animals and children are very keen on picking this up. Where like she was saying, her belief was a lot of children will say, "Oh, I have an imaginary friend," and it's not an imaginary friend. It's a spirit. And she said, not a bad thing, but that's what she believed. And she said animals are very sensitive to that as well. And when you said that about the dog, that's exactly what I thought of.
I'll tell you, I went to a medium once. It wasn't a one-on-one. It's a funny story, but it was like a group, in a room of people. And she was, just whoever popped in, she would, tell you what they were saying or that they were there. And my grandmother was like a pushy Jew. And I said, if anyone is going to show up, it's going to be my grandma. And if my grandma, no, because, to say hello to me after she was the bird that came to me. And I said, if my grandma doesn't show up tonight, this lady's not real. My grandma did not show up that night. So I would not go to that lady again, because let me tell you, my grandmother was going to push to the front of that line to let me know that she was there. And she didn't, so this lady was not real.
Right, yeah.
That was how I gauged that.
Yeah, actually, this woman said a few things that were pretty spot on. I have to listen. She recorded it for us, and she sent it to us, and I want to listen to it again. But there were a few things that she hit the nail on the head, and it was kind of neat, like you kind of get a little, oh, I'm getting goosebumps, this is kind of freaky, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, but it's kind of neat to think or know that people that you cared about and that you loved, they're still looking out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of comforting to think. And
yeah.
We'll all be there one day, right? No one beats Father Time. And it'd be nice to know that you can check in
Yeah.
again.
It is. Those stories are nice. My mom passed away back in October, and my aunt, who was her sister, said that she always keeps a place, her table set, her dining room table set, forks, knives, placemat. She said, but nobody ever sits there. Christmas morning, she woke up and the fork was turned over and there were crumbs on the counter, and it was on the placemat, and there was only her and her husband there. And she said, did you eat there? And he said, no, I was sleeping. We never eat at that table. So she likes to think that it was my mom who came for Christmas Eve. Yeah. And, she's like, there were crumbs and the fork was turned over. And it's nice to think that, because some things really don't have an explanation other than that. If there's no one else in your house, or if a bird never comes to your house or your window before or after, what is it? Right. And then to hear, that other people have those, like you said, with the bird, and when my husband, told me about these other people, there's got to be something to it that people are experiencing these exact same things, because no one's brain is exactly the same and firing the same. I don't think so. I'm not sure if it's our brains just misfiring the exact same way, all of us. There's got to be something to it.
Yeah, we'll find out at some point. It was like a cookie we ate or something.
Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, somebody put in
those Oreos really wrecked me. For years. I stopped eating them, and man, everything's better. No, that's definitely not it. Yeah, it's easy to dismiss. I think it's just like anything else. Like, if you want to believe, then you'll believe. You'll find the reason to believe, and if you don't, then you'll find the reason not to.
Right.
I don't have a fear of that. Like I said, I don't think that ghosts are, and I don't even call them ghosts. I think like a spirit is evil. I think that it's usually, if you're having any contact, it's someone you knew, someone you know. And I take comfort in that. To me, it's a nice thing to think that, again, someone's there, kind of checking in on you. I'll take that.
I'll take it. Oh, I say it all the time. I'll take my grandma watching over me any day. That's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you're not afraid. You're not fearful of this.
I'm not.
The Shadow Man.
I will be honest, if I was not the one experiencing it, I don't know if I would believe someone else telling me. So if anyone is listening and they're saying she's nuts, yeah, you can think that. And, I really hoped that when I told my husband that I'd never heard of it, that I never heard of, because it's so easy for someone to say that if you're not experiencing it, yeah, sure, she's seeing this, but I am. And
right.
And and I wouldn't believe it either if it wasn't happening to me. You'd say, yeah, okay, sure, Tara. What are you eating before? Spicy food. Stop eating the spicy foods before you go to bed. But which I might be doing that too. But that's not what this is.
Yeah, no, I think again, it's one of those things where, just like anything else, if you approach things, my opinion, with an open mind, then anything's possible. I don't like to shut things down. I think that at times, and I try to remind myself that it's it's good to kind of listen, shut my mouth and listen, and I might learn something. And I don't want to be closed down to anything like that. Because it's easy to dismiss. Like you said, like people can say, "Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy for thinking that. Oh, you had the same dream as your sister." Well, there's an explanation for that. Sure. Like I said, it's if you want to break it down and tell me I'm wrong, you'll find a way. But I know what I felt.
Right.
So,
And then when it happens to them, then they'll believe you.
Yeah. Well.
Then they'll say, you know what? Maybe Ed wasn't so crazy. Maybe Tara wasn't so crazy.
All right. When I was at work, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of my favorites was one about things that are unsolved and like supernatural, and it always got me wondering, like, what is the explanation to all these individual things? And so one time, seeking that satisfaction, I guess, I looked into a solved mystery podcast, and it was so anticlimactic. Like knowing the answer to, in this case, it was like a crime murder mystery, and they were like, and then this guy killed them, and I was like, okay, well, that was really lame. So like all this to say, I think the unsolved is more intriguing to human beings than knowing what's actually going on.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. I mean, you look at like I started reading this book, and it's along those same lines that you were just talking about, Tom. Was I think it's called I can't remember the name, the 411, and basically this guy has categorized all these disappearances in national parks, and this one book happens to deal with the United States, but he has books all over the world. He's done these studies, and he will talk about some of these people are grown men, grown women. They're not just children, and they'll go out for a walk. They've been seen, and then they disappear. And then they'll say, people will say, a bear got him. But they'll never find, they don't find clothes. They don't find a body. They don't find bones. They find nothing. And it's fascinating. And again, it's like, like I always think, like, if you think back to, Tommy and I were talking about this, like you'll say, like in the rainforest, like they were finding things in the rainforest that they never knew existed or thought were extinct a long time ago.
Or the ocean.
Or in the ocean.
At the bottom of the ocean, yeah.
Right. So is it possible, and then this leads to, of course, a Bigfoot thing, but is it possible for something?
It's funny you say that because I may live with someone who's very into Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
As a matter of fact, when you were describing the book, he whispers to me, "I know that book, Bigfoot." So
yeah, that's yeah. It's funny because I love watching the Bigfoot shows, right? I'll watch them, and my wife will always come in and she'll go, "Hey, let me ruin the ending for you. They don't find him," and I'm like, "Would you stop?" I'm like,
no,
okay.
I think now you can go. There's a state you can go and get a hunting license, and you can try to hunt Bigfoot. Like get a legit license. Look it up. It's real. Yeah. Some state Arkansas. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, really?
Oklahoma, you can go get a legit license to hunt for Bigfoot.
I might just have to get the license just to have it.
I was thinking to get him that as a gift. I wonder if he can.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the stories of things that don't exist, which
a $25,000 reward.
Oh, a $25,000 reward if you find it.
But it has to be alive.
It has to be alive.
It's just captured. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, 25. It's not bad. But yeah, you're right. The unsolved story is it leaves it up to you to kind of look at, Those disappearances. I mean, of course, you can say in a forest. I mean, some of those are in national parks, and like I've said, well, how do we know someone doesn't fall in a ravine and into a crack in the earth, and you'll never see them again? Is it possible? Yes, but you would think that we'd find something, right? People have fallen climbing Everest, and it's taken maybe years, and they found them eventually. Somebody takes the right path one day, and they'll find. But in that book, which is interesting, sometimes they'll say that they'll find clothing, but they'll find it's neatly folded.
Yeah.
And left on a log somewhere.
Bigfoot has got some good housekeeping there.
Yeah. And I had said one time, I was watching a show, and this was a big joke between me and Dolph. Dolph. And I said to him, I saw on a show that the reason why they don't find Bigfoot bones is because porcupines eat them. And he thought that was the funniest thing that I had ever said. But it did. It came up on the screen during one of those Bigfoot shows, and it said, porcupines eat bones of Bigfoot or something like that. So that's why you never find them. It's funny
because he talks about it all the time. He listens to Bigfoot podcasts, I will say. And me, who sees Shadow Man, does not believe in Bigfoot. I mean, how can I say that, right? I mean, I'm seeing this thing in a Captain Morgan hat, watching me sleep, but no, there can't be any Bigfoot.
See, I think if you really look at it, and this was always my my view on it, there was a giant ape, a Gigantopithecus, that roamed this land, and that's proven. They found bones. They know what this thing is. Now, could there have been a point in time where something like that could have lived, here in the United States? I would say, yeah, absolutely. It's a possibility. If we're talking way back in the day where there was undiscovered lands, who knew what was there, right? Like, that's a possibility. Could something like that survive, hundreds of years? I don't know. It's just, for me, when I look at it, I'm like, a lot of people see this thing all over the place.
Right.
Is there some validity to this? Is there something?
But there's no picture. See, at least my thing, it's dark. How are you going to get a picture of it? There's no way to get a picture of a dark figure in the dark. But nobody has a picture. And that's my issue with it. I say, okay, years ago, people didn't have a camera in their hand all the time. Okay,
sure.
Now you do. And that's me. Yeah.
There's a good video of it's a police officer and his partner. He's driving, she's in the passenger seat, and I don't know where it is. I'll have to dig it up. I'll send it to you. But it's kind of cool. He's driving in the car, and it's a dark road. It's just him and they come across, and this thing darts across the road, and he's like, Did you just see that? And she's like, yeah, turn around. So they turn around. They can't find it, but they have it on a dash cam. So you can see.
Oh.
So it's really kind of cool. When I see stuff like that, I was just watching the other night. Was it last night? The night before, they had something on Bigfoot. And these kids in Russia somewhere had a video. They were following these tracks in the snow. And they caught a video, and it's really terrible because I think it's on like a flip phone, But the video is really grainy, of course, always. Like Bigfoot never takes a good picture.
Right.
But and you see this thing in the woods, and then it takes off. I don't know, like.
Yeah, I saw the video of it swinging in the tree, and you're like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
It's a monkey. Did you see that one? And my husband's have shown me that so many times, like it's a monkey. So it can't be a monkey. Monkeys don't swing that fast, Okay. I'll let you have your Bigfoot if you let me have my Shadow Man.
Well, I mean, you see, but that's the thing. It's like, if you want to believe in Bigfoot, you're gonna find a way. I mean, I'm jealous of that guy that does the show who making a living, and he's probably making a good living being a Bigfoot hunter. Like, that's outstanding. That's like he's living the American dream. He has this job where he goes all over the country talking to people, and they set up camp, and they hoot and they holler and they bang sticks on trees, and they hope to hear something. And dude, I wish I thought of that. I'm angry I didn't get on that earlier. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that's the way you could have retired early.
Yeah. We're in Oklahoma. We're trying to cash in on a $25,000 reward here.
Yeah, I bet he finds it now.
Yeah. I'm certain he's doing okay getting paid by the I don't know what channel that's on, Discovery or whatever it's on. But yeah, I'm sure he's making good money whether or not he finds anything. But it's again, it goes back to if the people who believe that. You know, you've seen people say, "I've seen a UFO," and people are like, "Oh, you're crazy." You know, to me,
I have stories. Yeah.
Yep. Have you seen?
Stories. Not me. Once again, my husband, when he was younger, living, I guess he was like 19, 20, living up here where we live now in his parents' house. He tells the story all the time. He was asleep in his room and there's a window and he saw like lights. He said almost like a car, you know, kept going around and the lights kept flashing in his window and in his window. And he thought that his brother's friends had dropped him off and were doing like donut, you know, in the backyard.
Rippin' nuts.
Rippin' nuts. They were ripping nuts.
Yeah, so he was annoyed, you know, right. So he goes upstairs to yell at his brother, who I guess was like 17 at the time, maybe. And his brother's fast asleep. Like he said, his brother had been home for hours. There was no car in the backyard. Wow. And they went out and there were no tire tracks at all. And his mom says around the same time frame, you know, that she would see glowing. And these are normal, you know, people who held jobs. You know, these aren't like crazy, you know, people on these crazy hallucinogenic drugs. She said she, in her living room, see like a light, was it green? Red, shining through the living room window, like just brightly, that she wouldn't even leave her bedroom to go to the bathroom because she was afraid because these lights were shining through. And we live in Orange County, and it's parts of it are pretty big UFOs. Pine Bush, we live near Pine Bush. And so they believe that at the time there was maybe something, because his brother said at the same time he saw like a pizza shaped thing above their house.
That's really cool.
That I've never, I don't have any alien stories, but they do. And, you know, my mother-in-law, she's like a normal, she's not someone, well, she's as normal as you can be, you know, but, you know, for them all to say that around the same time frame that they were seeing these things, you know, what else could it have, you know, could it have been?
Now, you know, like my view on that too with UFO is I think that if we're a universe, if we're a solar system, and there's life on our planet, it's hard to convince me that there's not another solar system and there's not life. Now, is it more advanced? Is it not? I don't know, but I think that it's very feasible that there are more advanced.
I mean,
civilizations somewhere.
Aren't there papers that the CIA or whatever are hiding from us, right? I mean, don't they actually have? So what are they studying, you know, spending money and studying on if there isn't something to be studied?
Right. That was that whole Roswell back in, like, what was that, in like the 50s, in the Area 51, and supposedly one crashed. And you know, like, I can't, that's, to me, that's very believable. Like, I can't sit there and say, if you can't really sit there, we don't even know how big, you know, the universe is. And to say that we're the only solar system, which we know that's not true, but the only solar system with life on it, it would be kind of, I can't buy that.
No, I believe in that. Yes, I do think there's something else out there. There has to be. Like you said, it's too big. Why would only things be able to survive here? No, I don't.
And I wish one day, like, I wish it would be so cool if just somebody popped out and just said, "Yeah, that's me. I'm one of them." You know, like, you know, it would just end things. You could be like, "Hey, dude, do you know anything about the Bigfoot? Can you at least fill me in on that one, please?" No, but it would be so cool, as long as it's not like the movies where they're taking over and killing everybody. Like, you know, but. I think that would be one of the coolest things, because maybe we, you know, who knows? Yeah, maybe we'd learn something. You know?
Maybe they're taking me somewhere to study me when I don't know what room I'm in. You know, who knows where I am? Because
now, people have said that. People have said that they feel like they've been, you know, taken and been probed and you know tested, and that's come out. You know, and is that feasible? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you know. I'd like to think that we're not the only ones around. Like.
I can tell you we're not there. I can tell you from experience we're not. There are other things here.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's cool. I mean, I'm glad you shared that. I think that's cool. I know you. I don't think you're crazy.
Thanks. Really? You know me and you don't think I'm crazy?
Well, let's go back. Anybody who does what we do, and the OCR thing, everybody kind of thinks that's a little crazy. Okay. But you're not crazy.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I enjoy I enjoy that, like Tom said, I enjoy the story that doesn't have an ending. It's up to us to decide whether or not we want to believe in it or not.
Yeah.
And I can buy that.
Absolutely. So now watch. Now I haven't felt afraid. I haven't felt like it's wanted to hurt me. But now that I've talked about it to all you people tonight, I might sleep with one eye open.
Yeah, well, you'll have to fill me in.
No, it's coming after me for sure.
He's like, you talking about me? Are you talking about me?
Right. This was supposed to be just between us. Now, okay. Now, it's not going to be so docile anymore.
Yeah, right. Nah. Shadow Man should be happy you're talking about him. He's like, hey, that's cool. Yeah?
Yeah. Leave me alone now.
Yeah, now beat it.
Yes.
Wow. That's cool. Well, we're about an hour in, so I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for letting me.
Yeah. Hey, anytime you want to come back, you let me know. We'll set up a time.
Yes, I definitely. Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you. And thanks for joining us. And anything else you want to say, Tom?
Please remember to rip nuts responsibly.
That's it. So thanks for joining us today. And again, like I said, anytime you want to come back, just let me know.
I will. Thanks so much.
All right. You have a good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.